Welcome, friends, to the Ultimate Show Season Guide, where I am bringing you the best clips of our show mode pop-up season from late last year. And I'm popping these snippets together to bring you everything you need to know to help you create and deliver an incredible concert, show, recital, whatever, because I know how important this moment is in your annual calendar. So we are going to be bringing you the topics of marketing gold with Deb Szabo, budget for concert profits, deliver a powerful director's speech with Jennifer Natale. We're also going to be talking about how to master your concert communication and concert systems. Now, if you missed out on Show Mode, the pop-up series here on the podcast in September last year, we're bringing you the best. So make sure you stick around. And if there's any relevant templates that are mentioned in the show, we'll pop as much as we can in the show notes. But do remember, at the time, we were promoting an event, a Show Mode event. So that has passed. But any template tools and free resources, I will still pop in the show notes for you on this episode. I want you to have a profitable, successful, streamlined, production season. I want you to be able to communicate well, and I want you to be able to get the best results possible, because this is the pinnacle of your calendar, right? Yes, you've got, potentially competitions, mid-year production stuff. You've got, amazing programs, classes, workshops, and all the bits and pieces. But this is the guide to the show, because often studio owners are not utilizing this as, something that you can profit from, something that you can retain your students from, something that you can attract more students from, something you can use as a tool to promote yourself as a personal brand, the leader of your business. There's so many opportunities when it comes to that moment when you have an excited, engaged audience in front of your business in that theater or that performance space. This is the most engaged you ever get them. Yeah, so make sure you make the best of it. And that's what this is all about. So welcome to your Ultimate Show Season Guide for 2025. I'm Josephine Lancuba, and welcome to Studio Talent Collective, the podcast for dance and performing arts studio owners. Here we share industry insights, inspiring stories, and real talk to help you build a thriving studio and in-house talent agency. As a performing arts business coach and talent agent, I'm all about dreaming big and growing together as a community. You're in the right place. Let's leap in. Hey studio owners, if you've been juggling too many tools to manage families, payments, and marketing, there's a better way. It's called Enrollio, an all-in-one system built just for dance and performing arts studios. This week, they're offering a fast track setup worth $497 AUD, completely free for the first 15 studios. Go to enrollio.ai/STC to grab your spot. Link is in the show notes. Let's kick off today with Show Mode, Marketing Gold with Deb Szabo. Enjoy. So welcome, Deb.
Thank you so much, Jo. How are you today?
Yeah, not too bad. I've come on a little tired, but I am so glad to have you here. I am also in that end of season preparation. I know that, I recently did sell my business of 10 years, my studio business of 10 years. But having said that, I'm now supporting my studio owners that are my clients through their show mode experience. And it's a really big time of the year. So I totally get that fatigue and exhaustion and how we can take the foot off the pedal at this time when sometimes we need to accelerate, especially in the marketing space, which we're going to talk about. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself and your background. What do you do in this world, Deb?
Yeah, so I've got, I'd hate to admit how many decades, but it's about 3 in marketing. And I've worked in Look, my business now, I'm the founder of Content Catalyst, which is a marketing hub. It's an online marketing hub for businesses to have the support and the tools to actually get visible online and scale their business. So I have a love of video. So I'm a marketing strategist, but I have a love of video. So you'll always see me walking around with my camera in my hand, basically capturing content. And so I know the power of video and the ability that we have to promote our business anywhere, anytime, just using our phone for free. So I wanted to be able to share that with other business owners because like I said, I know the power of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I think that studio owners are missing an opportunity. I speak to many of them every single week in my work as a coach, and they often say when it comes to marketing, oh, I don't have time to film any content in the class, or
Yeah.
oh, I was meant to capture that, but
Yeah.
it just didn't happen. And
Yeah.
so there's no priority on capturing those moments that really are part of a modern day marketing strategy.
Yeah.
So let's talk through that, because I want to talk about social proof today. I want to talk about how we can document and create, etc., in the lead up to the show, but also what studio owners can do not only in the lead up but during the show to make sure that they're continuing to market and promote their business. So let's start from the top. Let's talk about the lead up, because I know we talked off camera just then and you had some great things. So please share away.
Yeah, look, that was one of the reasons why I created Content Catalyst, because as business owners, we're so busy doing our business. And for anyone that wants to be successful in business these days, the numbers are in or around 70% of our efforts actually need to be concentrated on the actual marketing. Now, those numbers get overwhelming when you think, oh my God, how can I do that? I've got classes to lead. I've got to do all the admin and things. And that was one of the reasons why I created what I did, because as business owners, we are so busy doing the things. However, that is actually the opportunity to create content gold. And I have a few tips to share with you today on how busy studio owners getting ready for show mode, getting ready for the end of year production can actually optimize, not only like optimize what they're doing right now, but make it content gold that they can use for years and years and years down the track. And one of the things you mentioned before was social proofing. Social proofing is about going, oh, that's recognition, it's credibility, and it's also visibility. And so when you are able to do those three things in your business, people will come to you. And how we do that is we show what we do. And this is why leading up to show mode, this is the time that's actually content gold. So there's a couple of different things that we can do right now to capture that. So we were just talking off camera before, and I'm watching the guys on My Kitchen Rules, Manu and Colin Fassonage, doing their teaser content right now, leading into they're about to go and record in New Zealand. So they're on the plane, they're in the airport lounge, they're in the hotel. All of this stuff is leading up to getting them ready and promoting what they're actually doing. So this is a way that studio owners can actually capitalize on what TV shows are doing now, is that behind the scenes. And this is why reality TV is so powerful, is because people love to see what's going on behind the scenes. So when we document what we do, one, we don't have to think about making a big production of going, oh, I don't have time to capture video and photos. It just becomes part of our everyday.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, isn't it? Because I think as creatives, intuitively, we think we have to be creative in capturing the content, and then that almost stops you from doing it, because you're like, oh, I have to think of this amazing funny TikTok video, but that's not what you're saying. You're saying it's really that documentation over the creation, over that creative aspect when it comes to just grab the content. Yeah.
If you think about all of the Netflix documentaries that are on at the moment, and I'm thinking of like, there was Celine Dion, there was Taylor Swift, there was Lady Gaga, there was J-Lo, there was all these behind the scenes artists. So there was all these documentaries rather of behind the scenes getting ready for the show. You know, they were in pain and they had to see the doctor and their recovery and their performance preparation of them, like, you know, going through their ideation of writing a song. We're fascinated by that to the point that there's an actual Netflix documentary about it. So how can you make your own Netflix documentary without it taking a lot of your energy? And how you do it is literally by taking this phone that's in your pocket and a little selfie stick and literally documenting every little bit what you do. Just all you have to do is like literally open up your video camera and just speak to it. What are you doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And then when we have that content, okay, so we're still leading up to the show. We're not at the show just yet.
Yep.
So we're leading up to the show. We've got all this content. I
Yep.
think there's an overwhelm in the organization of the content as well. So you've got all this stuff on your phone, right? This happened
Yeah.
to me recently, actually.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to get all this beautiful content, and I've started doing it, and I do it everywhere now, and it's been so amazing, and I'm just loving it because I've always got something to go to each day, and I don't even have to worry about what will I post today. It's like I've got so much content, it's amazing, but I started thinking about how do I sort that now because I don't want it to all be living in my phone. So I've started like saving them into photo albums, uploading them into a Google Drive, and saving them and filing them. Like it's so hard because everything's on your phone these days, and it can get quite cluttered. So then, what's your organization tactic around that?
Yeah, so a couple of things that you can do as you're going along. You've got a tripod right there behind you, Joe, and I love that you've got that right there because I make a point of having my tools around me. So when I walk in the morning, I've got a tripod like you right on my desk. I
Yeah.
put my phone on it and I capture a story. So my story just goes to Instagram and it just says, this is what's on my schedule for today. I'm actually editing a video. I'm actually going out and doing a marketing, plan for someone. So I'm documenting that. That's number one. Number two, go live. Going live, you still have that footage in your phone that's stored in archives in Instagram. If you're going live on, let's say Instagram is your, number one platform that you focus on. So you've got both of those stories and videos stored in there. And then going live also means that you don't have to edit as well.
Yeah.
So it still documents what you're doing. Now, I've got about 20,000 videos clips on my phone right now. And so I get what you're saying about it can fill up very quickly, but organizing them into albums. So even if you're just sitting in bed of a night and just go click, 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 album, click, 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 album. And then what I did the other day, I have a Dropbox folder that's linked on my computer and I can just drag the photo, so have your photo album open and you can just drag it into the Dropbox.
Yeah.
So that's another way of organizing it. I'm not a big fan of hard drives because I always lose them or corrupt them or something. So I like to have things on a cloud.
Oh, the cloud is where it's at.
The cloud is my fan. So I literally I pay for extra storage on my phone. So I think I've got like 2 terabytes. I never have to worry about that.
And
then.
it's such a good investment. Storage in the cloud is such a good investment, especially when you're capturing content.
Yeah.
And it's worth it. I think it's absolutely worth it. So I 100%, I use Google Drive, but I pay for the extra storage, whatever. It doesn't matter what your flavor is, as long as that you've got it somewhere.
Doesn't matter. Google Drive and Dropbox are connected to most things as well. Generally, I use Dropbox because when you use videos, it can take up a lot more memory, and I just find it cheaper to use Dropbox storage, like large storage. I think I've got like 2 terabytes on Dropbox as well, but I can fill up Google very quickly. So that's my only difference between the two that I've learned. But I love the ease of Google. And it's
also,
shareability.
I think that not overthinking it. So, we talked about capturing these live moments. You've just talked about going live on Instagram or wherever. The point of that is as well, I think sometimes people are scared when they go live because they think, no one's there and there's 0 people watching, but it's not in the live, it's in
The
the
replay.
replay. So
Yes.
just remember that. Don't worry if no
100%.
one's watching you live. We're not pretending to be Kim Kardashian here. You
No.
don't need to have 1 million followers.
No.
It's not about
I
that.
built one of the businesses that I used to work with. We actually built and turned around a business that was in the red to making multi-millions. And the reason how we did that was because we did live. We had a live stream series every week, and we just turned up live. Now there might have been 1 or 2 people that had tuned in at that time, but there was thousands of people that watched it over the weekend because we did a Friday series. And it's interesting because I have people come up to me later going, "Oh yeah, I see your lives. I never watch them, but they're great." But here's the thing: 5 minutes later, they tell me everything that was in the live. So
Mm,
it's like the power of lives. Never underestimate the power of going live. And if I can
yes,
give everyone a tip, when you go live, think about your hook. Think about what your purpose is of going live. Please don't start with, "Hey guys, how you going? Thought I'd just jump in." Just go straight into what your purpose of the video is. And I always think those first 3 seconds are the most important, because when you go live, you're not waiting for people to jump in. You're just getting to the point, and then whoever jumps in, because live streaming, people will jump in and out all the time. So it's just good to recap what you're talking about as well. But always get to the point in the first 3 seconds, because the majority of people, as we just mentioned, watch the replay. And so they're just going to be scrolling along, and they'll just keep scrolling if you're flapping about and fluffing.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about that lead up. We're building momentum.
Yes.
We're leading to the show. We've got marketing gold. Remember that this marketing gold that you've got, this B-roll, this, going live, this natural occurrence within your business is actually interesting content to people. Even if you think it's boring, it's not.
Very.
It's not. People love this. They love to see the real life situation of what people have going on in their lives and businesses.
Yeah.
So this is actually a very important time of the year, because what can happen is, for many studio owners, they take the pedal off marketing because they're in show mode. And
Yeah.
this is actually critical timing, because we know that January, February season is like peak enrollment season. That term
Yeah.
1 of the new year is
Yeah.
peak enrollment. Now's the time to begin engaging people. Now's the time they're going to start thinking about next year for their
Yeah.
kids, or, depending who you serve, adults, whatever. People are going to start thinking about next year activities. They're going to start searching. They're going to start watching and thinking, and you
Yeah.
want to be front of mind,
Yeah.
right? So you want to be front of mind. You want to be the person that pops up in their feed, and that they're actually thinking about when they go, where am I going to go next year? Oh yeah, that place that I've been watching and really engaged with and enjoying watching their content, right?
Yeah.
So now we've led to the show moment. Here's the thing I want to just touch on briefly here, and that is the actual show. Now, we know, studio owners listening at home, that you already have your videographer and you have your photographer. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about capturing the actual production itself, and we understand that you may sell those videos or keep them, and you can absolutely repurpose those stage moments for content. Of course you can, those professional videos. But I think that there's some power here in allocating a person of staff to be your, I keep going to say D-Rock, because I'm loving Gary Vee right now. I'm
Yeah,
loving
me
his
too.
book. What's it called?
A day trading attention.
Day Trading Attention. And he's got this videographer editor dude that's called D-Rock, who just basically follows him around in life.
Yeah.
And captures everything, and then, mixes it all together and throws it onto the social platforms. I'm sure it's a lot more detailed than that, because we're talking about Gary Vee, multimillionaire, whatever. But in your case, you don't have to have a D-Rock per se, but even just a young person who's just walking, it's an investment, and think of it as marketing budget. That's how I want you to think of it, because people will dunk thousands of dollars in Facebook ads that may or
Yes.
may not work, but they
Without a
won't spend
strategy.
$200 on a staff member, a young person who's just there to capture content on a phone.
Yeah.
That is your marketing content.
Yeah.
So talk me through what sort of things they could be looking at when
Yeah.
it comes to capturing content during show.
Yeah. I've run big event productions over the years. And one of the things when you're in that mode of having to just focus on your checklist, it's really also, and especially when you're interacting with different people, it's really difficult to capture content as well, right? So you can't be thinking of both. So the best thing to do, and this is what I've always done, is allocate a person to go, you're on content, you're on capturing content. Now, I will always go video first because it just gives me so much gold. And people as a default will always get a photo. So you're like, I went to a conference last week, heaps of photos that people took, but not a lot of video, where I was the person getting the video stuff. So think about video first. And the other thing is, when you start now to have someone even follow you around, like just say you've got an assistant or whatever, or one of your team members or one of your students or anything like that, get them onto it now. Because what you want to do, one, it builds anticipation for the show. It'll help you sell tickets, but it'll also help with your future enrollments when it comes to enrollment time. By the time enrollment comes along, they'll be saying, I saw everything you did behind the scenes and I want some of that.
Yes.
And so when you actually have someone allocated on showtime, what you're selling, right? It's not your production, it's actually your studio. Right. So when you have someone allocated to just doing that, filming you, filming behind the scenes, again, it's that behind the scenes content is powerful, powerful gold content for your marketing that you can repurpose year after year after year. I mean, inside Content Catalyst this month, we're doing a whole thing on product launches and campaigns. And one of our editing workrooms is all about remixing and refreshing content to give it a new lease of life. Because I will use, I did 3 campaigns this year where 70 to 80% of content was repurposed because I had a content library. So that means that when you build a content library, it will save you time and money in the future when you go to launch enrollments, in your case, as a studio owner, that it will increase your enrollments because you don't have to go in there going, join my studio, join my studio. It's just, I want to join your studio because I saw all of the things that you do behind the scenes.
Yeah, totally. I love that you've also said it's not about the production. It's
No,
about the process. It's about
it's
people
about
being
the process.
engaged in the process. And I love that
Mm,
a lot.
mm,
I also like the fact that we're talking about creating content libraries. And that's sort of what I was alluding to earlier about,
yeah,
storing them in folders, and you're building a library. That's
yeah,
what you're doing, really. Building the library in the cloud, right? And that doesn't mean that you can't do paid advertising. Of course you can. But now you've even got such better content. You
yeah,
can use that. Not all adverts have to be, yes, of course, we want to have structure, and we want to send our message and really be clear about what we're selling. But
yeah.
sometimes it is that B-roll that can be used and things like that in those moments that you can use in those paid content and in those paid advertising campaigns. Would you agree with that? What's your take
Yeah,
on that?
Joe, I'm working with a Facebook ad strategist at the moment. And one of the things, I actually recorded her sales video on Saturday. So a couple of weeks ago, I did a whole video challenge so people could make a sales video specifically for their website, social media, and Facebook ads. And with working with Stacey, I recorded her, I did her script and I did her video for her own sales video to run ads to. But here's the thing, and we had this discussion about like what people are posting on like for Facebook ads. And one, boosting ads is not a strategy. Okay, so if you're boosting ads, then get some expert advice about how to actually maximize your ad strategy and your dollars. That's number one. Number two, have a purpose with your ad. And some of all of that content that you're capturing now will make up all your gold content for your ads that will resonate. Now, just before I got on, I was editing a video for somebody, which is just a straight talking head video like this. And to add engagement and interaction, so to keep interest with your Facebook ads, think about incorporating some of that footage in there to overlay your talking head video. And this style of content is really, really powerful to run ads to.
I love that. Okay, well, I could talk to you all day. This is meant to be a pop-up series.
I
I'm
know,
supposed to
right?
keep it short and sweet. I can't
Yeah.
help it. I just keep talking and talking and talking. Let's leave today with just your final thoughts. So we've talked about, building that momentum, using video to capture those moments in the lead up to show. That's your marketing tool. It's an attraction tool. It's also something we can use during show if we can, having someone allocated to that role.
Yes.
As well, a dedicated person, because you're going to say, studio owners, I can do it, I'll do it, it's going to be great, and you're not going to do it.
And
It's too hectic.
the other thing I'll add to that, Joe, and somebody was doing a book launch a couple of weeks ago and they said, oh, my friend is going to be taking the video of me on the day. And I went, great. If they don't have 50 videos in your phone by the end of the day, they're not trying. And she's like, oh. And so by setting that benchmark to your D-Rock, as we were talking about, really helps them go, it's better to get heaps more than heaps less.
100%.
So just get lots of little random clips, and it's better to also get short clips of like 5 seconds, 5 seconds of this, 5 seconds of that, 10 seconds of this. The other thing I'll give everyone the tip on, don't stand there for like a minute trying to get a whole minute's worth of content. It's better off just to get a clip of this, a clip of that, unless it's a really engaging part of what you're talking about, unless it's, talking in a discussion that you can utilize as voiceover or A-roll later down the track. But otherwise, just think in short clips, little 10-second bursts of B-roll clips. And if you are going to be making a video for your website, normally for social media, I always recommend to go vertical. But if you want to repurpose it, it's actually good to go horizontal, because then you can actually add it to YouTube videos or website videos, and you can always crop in as well. So that's just another hint. But short bursts of content, build up your content library, allocate a D-Rock, and go live, do stories, just document, and get heaps more than you think you're going to need, and get a shot list as well of going, if you're going to do behind the scenes at the point, give whoever's got the phone recording you, give them it going, I want 10 shots of me at the desk. I want 10 shots of me in the fitting room doing costumes.
We want backstage. We want kids running on from the wings. We want whatever. Yeah.
So give them a shot list of what you actually want.
Teachers instructing students in rehearsal, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, just before we go as well, just making sure that and this is really important, even if you do get someone on to do this, making sure that they've got those children's safety checks as well, depending on your state or territory. So in New South Wales, they have to have a working with children's check, but just making sure that you've got that covered, because if you're going to be sending someone backstage with a video camera, you just want to make sure that you've got that covered when you've got minors. So that's just an important little side tip there.
Joe, just the other thing on that, sorry, when you are filming things, a lot of the time people think that you have to get like a release. And yes, in instances you do. But what I always recommend is, if you are just going to have someone follow you around with a camera, and I like film in public spaces all the time with this, is just go up and say, hey guys, I'm going to be filming. If you don't want to be filmed, just let me know. And so that way you can exclude them. And that way you don't have to think, oh, I have to go to this whole room of 1,000 people and get like release forms. You can just literally say, we're going to be filming here, and this is part of what we're going to be doing. So most people are, yep, that's fine.
Well, I'm hoping that studio owners have release forms. Well, I always recommend this to my clients. They have release forms on their student enrollment. So it's just a tick box.
That's exactly right.
I always think that that's just great, because if you want to get content, of course you're going to get content. We're in the arts, we're in entertainment, we're producing entertaining, featured shows and parts that I think need to be seen by others, and it's not just about on stage, it's about on screen too. So let's do that. All right, before we go, how can people find you? And then we'll make sure we pop any of that in the show notes for everyone as well.
So my website is debzarbo.com, and you can find me at Content Catalyst, and I'm on Instagram, debzarbo_video.
I hope you got lots of great tips from Deb in relation to how you can use your concert to market your business. Next up is show mode, budget for concert profits. Here we go. Welcome back. as we talk about budgeting for profits during this show season. Okay. All right. So let's start with the income. Let's start with the basics. Obviously, we know that revenue is not the same as profit. Okay. Because you can earn $100,000 and pay yourself $50,000, which is a 50% profit, or you can earn $1 million and pay yourself nothing because the expenses are blown out and your budget is out of whack. And so even though the revenue is right up the top level, it doesn't mean that you're actually a profitable business. But that's okay. Okay, that's okay. What I want to talk to you about is the income opportunities that are in front of you during your concert season. And then we'll move to expenses and profit in just a moment. All right, so let's start with those income streams that are available to you. Let's start with the ticket sales. Now, ticket sales is extremely generic, but there are different ways to sell your tickets that can increase your profitability and also sales opportunity. Okay, so you've got your regular admission tickets, right? This is just the regular general admission price that you charge people. You also have VIP or premium seating ticket options. So we're talking about your reserve A's, your reserve B's. So essentially what I'm talking about is best seat in the house. And for you, that may be the first 2 front rows could be your A reserve. Then your B reserve might be rows 3, 4, and 5. And then general admission is everyone else. And so that means with those A and B reserve tickets, you can actually charge a more premium price. Now, you may decide that you only have 1 row of A reserve. And believe me when I say people will pay for the premium. Now, what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to reduce the price of your general admission of what you normally charge. So if you normally charge $40 a ticket, for example, then I don't want you to go, oh, okay, well, now that's A reserve and our general admission is $30 a ticket. No, that's the benchmark, the $40. You're going to elevate the price. You're going to increase the price and charge more for that A reserve. They are your hot seats. People will pay more to be in them. So if you at the moment have a first in, best dressed sort of scenario with your ticketing, I encourage you to introduce those A and B reserves, or essentially that premium seating ticket option, because that's essentially giving value to those that want to pay for it. Okay, it's not just about who's first in, best dressed. It's about who's willing to pay for that premium seating, who's willing to be that VIP. Now, you can even treat them like a VIP. For example, when I went to Taylor Swift, I was a VIP purchaser, not like top level, but like, I don't know, somewhere middle range VIP. And I got sent a welcome kit, like a tote bag, and we got, VIP lanyards that hung around our necks, and we got something else and a nice box that it came in, and essentially merch and fun stuff, postcards with Taylor Swift on them and a poster for my daughter. And we paid a premium for that. We got better seating and we got a gift. And so you can even have something like that where all of your VIP ticket holders get a little gift bag in front of their chair, or they pick it up at reception as they walk in. There's ways to really increase the value. It could be simple as, a box of chocolates and a thank you card with a little merch pen. It doesn't have to be a lot. Obviously, whenever we do something like that, price it up and make sure there's a profit margin. There's no point charging an extra $10 and then you put a gift bag in and the gift bag is $9.95. That doesn't work. It has to make sense financially. But anyway, have a think about how you can make the premium seating tickets, those high value ticket offers, available for your concert. Next, we have group ticket packages. This is great for large groups and can really encourage more people to come. And I'm not just talking about family of 4. Yes, family of 4 is great. It's not about reducing price, though. It's about encouraging more people to come. So you might say, 10 pack. If you get a 10 pack of tickets, then we're going to give you this, for example. And of course, you can introduce things like early bird discounting, but you don't have to. It depends on your studio. If your studio sells like hotcakes and you always sell out, then I wouldn't go down the discounted path. I would go down that premium seating path. Whereas if you're a studio that struggles to fill the house, then maybe early bird discount tickets is an option. Okay, so just thinking about what you can do to maximize those ticket sales or increase the value of the ticket sales for you as well as your customer. All right, so that's the ticket sales income stream. And again, this is all stuff that I'm going to be covering in Show Mode, my free coaching week. So make sure you register for that. And again, that link is in the show notes, guys. We're going to go further in depth and you're going to get, resources, tools. You'll get all of my notes and like my everything. You'll get everything essentially, as well as a budget spreadsheet for those that attend live. So make sure you check it out. All right. So next we can talk about income options for merchandise. Now, you've got everything from clothing, apparel, branded t-shirts, hoodies, etc. You can have dance accessories or studio accessories, water bottles, a microphone, a bag, etc. Programs. I like to think of programs as two options, printed and then digital. So we only ever had a limited amount of printed programs that we would sell. Okay. Once they sold out, people had to go to digital download. So we didn't offer digital download immediately. We sold the printed copies first. And then for a slight reduction in price, once the hard copies sold out, we would go to digital. So I would always make it very known that we only have a limited amount of printed programs. And so that was it. It could even just be 50 per show or 60 per show or something, depends on your seating. I like to print to anywhere from a quarter to the third of the audience size, and then it just goes to digital download by QR code, okay? So things like that. Other things that you can sell merchandise-wise, you've obviously got your videographer, you got your photographer, you can sell video and photo packages, of course. I always go down the digital route for those, much easier, more cost-effective, and easier to produce and sell. Then you've, of course, got things like commemorative items. So this could be like a little toy, a badge. It could be even a flower bouquet. There are lots of things that you can do. Flower bouquets are a really nice one, and they can be pre-ordered with a florist by order only. So you don't want to necessarily have them at the door unless you have fake flower, little like things like that you can use year on year. So if you don't sell them, you can always use them as stock for the following season. So, but if you're going the fresh flowers route, you definitely just want pre-orders only. Okay, awesome. So that's sort of the merchandise side of things. Again, we're just talking about income options right now for your concert season. Now, depending on your venue, it could be food and beverage, like you could have pre-order meal packages, drinks packages, etc. But again, that really depends if that's the venue you're at. I have done this before when we've gone more club style events, but then in the theatre, it doesn't really make sense. So it just depends on the scenario. I've even done with more casual productions that we've done in really like community hall style. We've even done like a hot dog stand with the soft drink. And that would sell amazingly. I got to tell you, everyone loves a hot dog and a Coke with a pack of chips or something. And that was it. That was the offer. It was like $10 and you get a hot dog and a drink and a little packet of chips. And it would sell like hotcakes. Not kidding. And it's so cheap to make. So, but that's a more casual thing. Theatres, they've got the bar and the food and they've got everything sorted for you. Clubs, however, I have done dinner packages before. Just depends. So that's something that you can think about there. And again, we can go more in depth and you can ask me questions at Show Mode, the free coaching week. If you attend there, I'm going to be opening it up to a live Q&A at the end of every 1 hour masterclass. We're across 3 consecutive days. That's September 17, 18 and 19th. And then 1 hour sessions. And then after that, I'm just going to hang back as long as you need to answer all of your questions. And you can ask me specifically what you want to know about your business and your studio event. All right. So let's talk about additional offerings. Okay. So here is where you have an opportunity to do something different. Now, don't cringe at the word raffle. Raffles can be amazing and you can get people to sponsor the raffle and actually have them as something that you sell on the day. Now, if you don't have any sponsors, you can throw in a couple of bottles of wine and maybe a $100 gift card to the studio or whatever. There's a lot of things you can do, but if you have any local businesses or parents or clients that have local business that can contribute, that's always a great thing. But have a think about it, because we've done raffles in the past and they work great. Like you can make literally like several hundreds of dollars, even $1,000, depending on your audience size and the price of the raffle ticket. But you can make that in raffle ticket sales, and it can cost you nothing or next to nothing to run. You do need a staff member that's on it. You have to make it a big deal. And the best way to maximize anything when it comes to raffles, like, is to have someone actually go around. Cash is dead, especially in Australia. Cash is dead. Yeah, sure, you can take cash if you want, but you've got to have a tap and pay system. For this to be successful, you must have a little, Stripe tap and pay, or one of those squares of things that you can even get them on your phones. But a tap and pay system is what you need. And I use Square. And so that's been the best, because people literally just tap their phone and buy, and no one cares, because tapping feels like nothing. And then they'll just buy tickets, and then you just have a little raffle book and you give them their tickets, and then you announce it on the stage at the end of the show, or whenever, or mid-show, or whenever you want to do it. But the only way it works is if you have someone actively going around the audience, like everyone's settling in for the show 15 minutes early. You've got someone bustling around. You've got someone on the microphone. Hey, everyone, have you got your raffle ticket? Here are the prizes. Hey, go and say hi to Mary. Mary's coming around, and, you can tap and pay and support our raffle today. Here are the prizes. Like, you got to make it an event no one will buy if you don't talk about it, period. You can do pre-sales in your studio, but you can also do it at the event live, and that works really well. If you have an intermission, have someone, again, run the room, intermission, sell it, make an announcement on the microphone. Okay. We've had great success with that. And to be honest, even in those earlier days, like, we stopped doing raffle later on in the piece when we really maximized our profits and we really didn't need to do the raffles anymore. But the raffles used to be the thing that got me paid for show week. Like, in the early days, like, I actually would sometimes have a show where I would break even, but I got paid because I ran a raffle. And I'm like, great, I just made $1,000. Awesome, done. That's my money. Excellent. Like, it's just that bit, the icing. Yeah. Don't discount the power of these sorts of things. And it's such a community event. You can get away with that sort of stuff easily. And it's fun. Okay. Advertising space in your program, local business, even if it's a couple of $100, advertising space is amazing. You can also offer those people that have advertising space in your program some extra bonuses. For example, you can say, and we'll send an email to our database about your service and do a post on our social media to promote your business. Why not? Great. Excellent. Okay. Sponsorship opportunities. We talked about that briefly, but people can sponsor your show. They could sponsor your trophies. You could have the local real estate agent purchase the trophies and sponsor the trophies, things like that. So get into that, and so that is a cost reduction. You can either have them pay for the thing, like it might cost you $1,000 in trophies. They could pay for that, or as in they could just pay for the actual amount of the trophies and be the sponsor for that, or they could pay you for the rights for the naming of the trophy or something. But just think about outside the box, because that's less of a moneymaker and more of a cost reducer. If they can actually pay for something, how good is that? How good is that? It could even be a show merchandise t-shirt that everyone receives and a company pays for them. So if you normally provide a special shirt, it could be that they sponsor it, this local business. It's a great idea. All right, so that's those additional offerings. So we've talked about ticket sales. We've talked about merchandise. We've talked about additional offerings. Now let's talk about digital products. So live streaming access for remote viewers. I know no one wants to live stream post-COVID. I totally get it, but it is an opportunity. So don't miss it. Okay. Grandma and grandpa who live in Tasmania can absolutely do it. Now, the quality of the live stream, private Facebook group, it doesn't have to be a professional live stream company. You don't have to charge an arm and a leg either. You could charge like a $10, $15, $20 ticket per person. Have a pop-up Facebook group that people join who have got the live stream tickets, and just be honest, this is off our phone, live streaming the event into the Facebook group. It won't be amazing quality, but you'll get to see it. Yeah, you'll get to see it. And so that's all you need, really. But you got to have someone on the camera doing the live stream. So someone focused on that. But you can actually sell tickets to a private Facebook group live stream off a phone. Okay. Just need to make sure you have good internet access. Okay. So live streaming access to remote viewers, or you can pay a company and you can do it full out and have you can spend $2,000 on a live stream if you want. I'm just saying you don't have to make it hard. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say this can be easy or this can be bigger than Ben-Hur, and there's no right or wrong. But what I'm saying is there are opportunities. And of course, I mentioned already for digital products, that digital concert program. Yeah. So you can opt not to have hard copy programs at all. You can be digital only. That is totally fine. But just letting you know that that's an option. Okay. Amazing. Now, I won't go into this now. So post-show items, we'll talk about that in the coaching session for show mode. Again, head to josephinelancuba.com/show mode if you would like to attend the free training this September. I won't jump in there. We won't have enough time on the podcast today. All right, expenses. So we've talked about income, ticket sales, merchandise, food and beverage, additional offerings, digital products, and during the free coaching week, I'll cover post-show items. Okay, let's move to expenses now, because remember, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash flow is reality. But we want some sanity right now. We want some sanity, and that is that you earn money. And the way to do that is to get a handle of those expenses. Now, in show mode, my free concert prep coaching week, I'm actually going to give you my budget spreadsheet. Okay, so make sure you register and you grab a copy of that. But for now, let's just do a quick overview of what I'm talking about. So and I won't cover the intricate details here. I'll do that in show mode, the coaching week, but I'm going to give you the top line things to consider for expenses, just so that you can start to think about that. So the top things that cost you the most money when it comes to your concert and your show season is, without a doubt, the team and the venue. Team and venue are your top two expenses when it comes to running your concert. And the thing is, we need to evaluate the team. So not just about the volume of the team, like how many people we actually need, but also at what level do they need to be at for the particular roles? Do we need all of our teaching team at the event? I know people will struggle with that. They'll go, of course we do. But if you've got a team of 20 teachers, do they have to be at the concert, all of them? Let's think about it. Let's really think about it. Okay? Because those assistant teachers may not. Okay? So let's talk about that. But team, and also getting so clear on the schedule that you don't waste a dollar. Like, just because bump in to the theater or the venue is at 9 a.m., does everyone have to rock up at 9 a.m.? How can we reduce the hourly rates? When is the preschoolers change room assistant actually required? Because if they're not required to bump in at 9 a.m. and they really could rock up at 10, then get them in at 10, because that's an extra hour of team that you didn't need to spend just because it felt overwhelming to actually think about the scheduling of team. So you ended up spending more than you had to. Other things, of course, is those contractors. Like, for example, you might like the videographer, like the photographer, like the sound guy, like the lighting technician. I get it. Like, these can be massive. I know that I had a bump in costs on my last show because the venue we were hiring no longer had a lighting and sound tech guy available, and they said you have to now book that externally, and we ended up paying $4,400 for the additional sound and lighting options, which blew up the budget a little bit, right? So then that's when we have to think about, well, where else can we cut costs? Now, you'd be surprised that venues can be negotiable, but also think about the reality of what venue you need. Now, this season, I totally get it. You've gone with the venue you've got and you've got to run with it because it's in a couple of months. I get that. So future thinking, though, we can start to think a little bit more outside the box with the venues. But those expenses can be minimized. But what I'm going to do for you in Show Mode Coaching Week is I'm going to break down every single cost. I mean, everything. Okay, we're going to really rip this apart, and I want you to think about every item. I mean, even down to you need to buy highlighters, clipboards, pens, like there's so many little things that you forget. So it's about setting a budget, right? So a miscellaneous budget, for example. Sometimes we don't think about the miscellaneous items, and that's where we get caught out because we're like, oh yeah, it costs X amount of dollars for team and X amount of dollars for the venue. Oh yeah, but I had to courier some costumes to that person and I had to do this thing and I had to, oh yeah, we didn't have any pens for the team to do the roll call and I had to buy this and oh yeah, there was that thing over there. Whatever. We left printing the programs to the last minute instead of a month in advance. So instead of getting the online order price, we got the Officeworks price, which is 3 times the amount for each program. And that is the truth. I learned that one the hard way. So I want you to avoid these traps. Yeah. Don't wait last minute to print your programs only to realize you can't get them back in time. So you have to pay a premium at Officeworks. You know, there's ways to save money, but you should absolutely just have a buffer, a miscellaneous buffer in your budget. So that's a tip, and stick to it. If it's not in the budget, it doesn't work. You know, even just things like transportation of goods. So, you know, the van or the truck or whatever you're bringing in to move costumes or set pieces or props or whatever. How can we reduce the cost in that? There are ways to do it. Right? How can we reduce the cost of team? How can we reduce the cost of venue? Something as simple as when you run overtime in a theatre venue that's very strict on time, they will charge you every single 30 minutes your overtime. That includes the required door person, the lighting guy, the venue hire. If you're not monitoring your schedule and you blow out your time frame, you could end up spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in extras just because you didn't run to schedule. So this is where you need to be mindful. Know your schedule, know the budget limitations. And when things get tough, don't just throw money at the problem, because that's something that can happen for sure. You get really frustrated, it's too hard, and you go, screw it. Just pay for the thing. Just do the thing. But we're going to look at that. We're going to look at your costumes budget. We're going to look at it all. People don't consider, for example, they'll look at how much it is per item for a costume and then forget the shipping cost in their budget plan. And then go, oh yeah, it was $1,000 to ship it from America to Australia. Oh yeah, but we didn't consider that in our per person costume fee. We just said it's $150 for the costume, but didn't consider to add a buffer of $15 per person for shipping. You must think of everything when it comes to your budget. So we're going to make sure we go through that during show mode. Again, I hope you guys do this. I hope you guys register. Also, there's other expenses to consider, and that is around the merchandise. So there are ways to minimize costs when it comes to merchandise. I like to use drop shipping so that I don't actually hold stock. So all of our commemorative merchandise that we sell, like show theme specific t-shirts and other things, I actually don't hold stock. I sell off a drop shipping site, and I'm going to teach you how to do that too. But that's food for thought, right? Drop shipping is great because you don't have to order or hold stock. You may not make as much per item, so the markup might only be $10 a t-shirt versus you could have made $25 if you sold it by ordering stock in bulk. But I also don't want to hold stock I can't sell later. And I don't want to store stock. So the way we've done it is we sell off a drop shipping site. Again, I'm happy to show you that during the free coaching week, but just to give you an overview now so that you can walk away with something tangible here. We'll go to a drop shipping site. We'll enter the product in there. Basically, all it means is when people go to order, they get it direct from this provider. So they'll go to our website and purchase it, and then they purchase the item through our website. They pay for it up front. And then we place the order with the drop shipping site for individual items. And the drop shipping company literally directly sends it to our customer and packages it, prints, packages, and posts, right? So we never touch the item. I order a couple of sample stock that I can take photos of and have up at the foyer for show. So we pre-sell them via photo images. And like, I've got a daughter, she puts the t-shirt on, I order it in her size, she puts the t-shirt on, we take a few photos, we share it amongst the community. We say, hey, we've got our Frozen the Musical t-shirt, or whatever your theme is, back to the 80s, 2024 show season. And she wears the shirt, and then we just let everyone know. And then we have a sizing chart on the website where people can order, or we have a printed sizing chart on site in the foyer at the show. So someone at our sales and merch table is selling this stuff with a tap and pay option. And people just look at the size chart and go, yep, cool, she's size 10, order that, tickety tick, done. Okay. And then that's it. And then the order goes through and away we go. And the drop shipping company sends it on our behalf. And like I said, we'll only make it like anywhere from about $10 to $15 per shirt on a drop shipping order. But like I said, I don't hold stock. There's no risk, and it works like a treat. Okay. So that's just t-shirts. Imagine what else you can sell. That's just one way to do it. And that increases our profits and reduces our risk. But again, there's so much merchandise. We're going to look at that. During show mode, my free coaching week, we're going to look at also how to maximize your profits through photo packages and digital video packages. There are ways to do it, and you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a videographer. I get it. You use this person all the time. They charge you $3,000. Guess what? There's people out there that can do the same job for less. I'm sorry, videographers. I'm so sorry. I have used a million of you, and I can promise you, I've used photographers that have charged me 3 times the amount. For someone, I got a third of the amount and have done a better job. And that's the reality. It is not about, you don't have to pay a premium to get a good result. Sure, if you're like a slamming studio with 1,000 students and you can afford $3,000 for your videographer, that's awesome. But if you're a small studio with 100 students, do you really want to dunk that much money on a videographer? That's a lot of money, right? So it's about how can we actually profit from our video and photo packages? We need to start thinking about that. Don't give them away for free. There are companies out there that will come and they just take photos and you don't make any money from it, and they just do it for free and they charge for the downloads. I'm just like, I'm not giving away this opportunity of revenue for free. Like, why am I going to do that when I know people are going to buy? People will buy the photo and video packages. Now, you can pre-sell them in a concert compulsory package, or you can sell them later. Either way, there's ways to profit from that. So there are a couple of models we can go over during show mode coaching week. Okay. Here's the kicker. Here's the key. And this is the key thing I want you to take away from today. I want you to profit. I want you to profit and pay yourself from your show season. If you are not, we're going to fix that. We're going to look at it and we're going to fix that. You deserve to be paid for show season. Bottom line. And we are going to unlock this through creating income generating activities that are going to make you money. We're going to unlock the expenses and how to save money on your expenses and what's necessary and what's not. And then we're going to look at those profit margins. I'm going to give you a budget spreadsheet that you can walk away with and input your information so that you can start to really grasp all of those items that cost you money, because believe me, you need to know what you're spending. And sometimes we turn a blind eye to the little things and we don't include them. The blue tack, for pinning up the things on the wall. Like, that's probably not in your expenses. And that could cost you $10. And you're like, $10, $10 here, $10 there, $100 here, $50 there, $1,000 later. You could have had that in your pocket. This is what I'm talking about. How would you have felt if you just kept track and you understood what the budget requirements were? And instead of dunking cash here and there without unconsciously dunking cash, you were consciously spending, and you could walk away with money from your show. Because not only do we want to get you out of the red for show week, break even's great, okay, sure. Profit is nicer. We want you to actually pay yourself for show week because you deserve it. Now, I'm going to leave you with this. When it comes to your monthly burn rate, so your burn rate measures how much capital your business needs to cover all expenses in a certain time period. So we're usually talking about a month. So generally speaking, your burn rate is used to determine how quickly a company, your business, your studio will go through its capital before it becomes cash flow positive. So basically, being clear on how much you spend, how much you earn per month, and the burn rate is that amount that you spend during that period each month. That includes your debts, your rent, your everything. So you need to start to understand what that burn rate is and how much it actually costs you to operate your business in total, all expenses, everything, including any debts and repayments. Okay. And then you can start to work towards the goals each month in your studio business on what you actually need to earn. Okay. Now, when you have a concert season, I want you to think about the elevated costs during concert season in that burn rate. So if your business costs you on average $10,000 a month to operate, just in general, wages, venue hire, general expenses, miscellaneous, etc. Like I said, wages, superannuation, etc. If let's just imagine it's $10,000 a month, including your wage is included in that, then concert season, you might need a little bit more capital before you get a return. So we need to think about that. And I want to help you make this possible. So join me at Show Mode this September, 17th to 19th. We've got so many topics to cover, but this is one of them, just one of them, to support your concert preparation so that you can reduce your stress, you can feel organized and really gain control of show week.
Next up in our Show Mode pop-up series Revisited, we have Deliver a Powerful Director's Speech with Jennifer Natale.
Jennifer Natale, yay! Now, Jennifer is an expert in the game of speaking. She's going to talk all about that. Now, for everyone listening, you're probably wondering, what the heck does speaking have to do with being a studio owner? And we're going to talk about that because production time, there's an opportunity where you go on and you do the director's speech. We're going to tap into that moment and how you can improve it, leverage from it, and more. So welcome to the show, Jen.
Thank you. Thanks, Jo. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, I wanted to let everyone know what you do. So would you explain to our listeners a little bit about what it is that you do in the world?
Sure. Well, I help female entrepreneurs with their leveling up their presentation skills. So whether they're new at presenting or whether they've been presenting for a really long time, we can always use another eye on how we present and find little ways to just level up every single time. And so that's what I do. I coach women in that space.
And it's interesting because when people think of presenting, typically they'll think of, your typical situation where, corporate presenting, etc. But do you find that having presentation skills is a transferable skill regardless of industry?
For sure, absolutely. And in actual fact, speaking itself is only one part of a presentation. So, before there's a whole lot of stuff that happens before you're standing on the stage. And that's where I come in. So we're talking strategy, we're talking understanding your audience, we're talking, like how you formulate and design your presentation and your speaking. Part of it is that's only one little part.
And I think what I find as a performing arts biz coach and working with studio owners frequently is that when it comes to showtime and we're in show mode, and often the speech that the director makes on stage is such a moment that I think we were just saying this before actually we hit record, we were saying how it can be treated as a formality rather than an opportunity. And so we're going to talk about that today, because I think that there's power in that moment. But let's start talking about the confidence side first. Now, regardless of my industry, even though we're in the performing arts, a lot of studio owners dread the speech. Some even contemplate, should I do it? I've heard that in some of those, Facebook industry groups, like, oh, do we have to do speech? So boring for the audience. That's the other thing. Oh, it's a snore fest. I don't want to bore the audience. If I get up on stage, is that wasting the audience's time? What's your take on that? And how can we overcome those challenges of, firstly, I'm really nervous and I'm not sure if I want to do this. And then secondly, it's boring for the audience, so why even bother?
Okay, so firstly, I always tell people you actually don't need confidence to get up there. You need courage. And we can all find the courage within. And our confidence just builds the more often we do something, the more we practice, then we become a little bit more comfortable. But in order to be comfortable, we need to understand why we're there and be prepared. So we're prepared and we practice. And that little bit of confidence will start to develop.
I like that. We don't need to be confident. We need to have courage.
That's correct.
How, and this is just a life lesson, y'all, everybody listening now, because I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so let's talk about courage. How, and just because you've got to talk about your background in relation to the work that you do with individuals. And I think this is important for the credibility here, because you know what you're talking about when it comes to the psyche of human behavior. So let's just tap into that for a split second.
Yeah, so I have spent 25 years in the mental health sector. So I have walked alongside my clients who have been people actually with some of the most severe psychiatric illness. And I have supported them to be able to achieve the goals that they wanted, to live the life that they wanted, to manage their mental health condition and live independently in the community and really be happy. Like that's what we all want as human beings, right?
Yeah, totally. So, when you talk to this, I wanted everyone to know that you actually really do have those credibility points on the board, because I think from a psychological point of view, when we talk about courage versus confidence, I'm really interested in that. So talk us through what you think that means when you say courage, and how does someone become courageous?
Yeah, well, because I think that when we think about confidence, we think we already have to have it in order to do what we want to do. It's like, I hear this a lot. It's like, oh, I'm not really confident in that space. I don't have the confidence to speak publicly. I don't have the confidence to, put myself out there. And so that is a real block for people, Joe. And the way to get over that is to be thinking to ourselves, okay, I need only 5 minutes of courage. and take the leap. So it's something that we can find within ourselves. And often, just to add to the credibility, I have done, in the 25 years, I have done over 4,000 presentations to diverse audiences, from board reports and board presentations through to a wide variety of live on, in front of people. I was a teacher and a trainer to groups of students, and now in the online space. So I kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to courage. And actually, I was a very shy child. So I'm not, my extrovert introvert is almost 50-50.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. You don't need to have that bold outward personality to be able to find the courage within. So before I present, I take a moment and I kind of quieten my mind, and I take a breath, and I think about, I visualize how I want the presentation to go.
Let's talk about that, because like I said earlier in the piece, there's an opportunity here that people are not tapping into. So the formality of it can be boring, right? If you just go up and you go, thank you so much all for being here. Now let us do the awards. My name is XYZ. I am the director of 20 years. Boring, snot-fest. So what can we do, first of all, before we step into the opportunity of that moment? What can we do to create a presentation on stage to our audience, who are essentially, typically in a studio environment, the friends and family members and loved ones of those coming to see the performers on stage? There can be hundreds of people in the audience. We've got studios that will pack a house out of 1,000 people. So it's quite the opportunity. Sometimes smaller audiences, you might have an auditorium of 100 people, 50 people, but usually we're talking in the hundreds, if not more, multiple shows, sometimes thousands of guests over a show week. So what can we do to change that mindset around that, and what can we actually tweak in our presentation to make it more interesting and engaging for the audience?
So it may seem counterintuitive, Jo, but getting the audience involved is actually one of the best ways to do it. And asking questions, so what do we want our audience to feel in that moment? We certainly don't want them to feel bored. We want them to feel engaged. We want them to feel like they're in the right place. So we want to ask them questions, and questions can be qualifying questions. So yes or no, raise your left hand if it's a no, raise your right hand if it's a yes, and then ask some questions. Or it can be opportunity questions. So where does the person who's presenting, what do they want from the audience in that moment? What opportunity can they take in this moment from all of these hundreds of people standing in front of them? Is it something to do with next year's numbers? Like, do we want more people coming to our studios? Do we want more people? What would be an example, Jo, of how someone can, in your industry, take the opportunity?
Well, I think that the opportunity lies in talking about what's coming up. And getting people engaged in that. So essentially like a call to action. So for example, it's the end of year. If you have something that you want to share it, and share it then. You don't have to wait for the email. Like, you're in front of them, like, oh, by the way, enrollments are open. And I know, and it's not sales. See, this is where you have to change the way you present it, I think. So it's not like you're going, oh, and everyone, enrollments are open now. It's only $79, $79 if you register now and you get a free t-shirt. Like, no, that's not what we're saying. But I think let the people know. So what's a creative way, I suppose, in how we can use that moment to promote whatever's coming up next and get them engaged. I think I like the idea of getting that interactive piece, like asking questions, even just simple, like, is everyone, like, and I've done this before, is everyone out there having a good time tonight? And then there's crickets. Excuse me, I can't hear you. Is everyone having a good time tonight? Let me hear you cheer. Woo,
Yes.
okay, great. Let's get the energy going. I think as well, injecting some, I mean, this is my personality type. I like to inject a little bit of humor. You know, like I remember one year we did Moana, the musical, and the roof was leaking on stage, and we had to mop in between every number. It was a total nightmare because there was this massive storm. And I made a joke about how, you know, we're creating an authentic real life experience, and we're in the ocean right now, and everyone just started laughing, you know, but that light them up. I think, you know, like inject the humor. But yeah, those call to actions, what can we do in a creative sense, do you think, that's not, because people feel salesy. So how do we get people on board with our call to action without it being salesy?
So then in this instance, you would use stories. So you would potentially talk about a highlight for, you know, a student that just want to share with you this, what, you know, this wonderful opportunity that one of our students has had this year, and talk about that story. And then you can kind of lead into whether your, you know, tickets are open or moving into what you want to introduce for next year.
Yeah. So that injection of story is a good idea. So essentially like a case study. So like choosing someone that you can talk about. I don't mind that. That's a good idea, something I haven't considered before. So for example, if you're saying, hey, you know, we've expanded our acrobatics program next year and places are limited. Instead of just jumping in straight there, go, now I just want to chat about Johnny. He's been an acrobatics student of ours for the last 5 years. When he first came to us, you know, he was really uncertain, and now he's thriving. And we received an email from his mum last week saying that, you know, he finds acrobatics to be his safe place and this is his home. And we love that that's been the result for little Johnny. We're now extending that program, everyone, so that you can have that same experience. So make sure before you leave tonight, we've got some QR codes out in the foyer. Make sure you scan them and book in. Thanks, everyone, for coming. It doesn't have to be sleazy. It can just be that little thing. You know, I love that storytelling thing as well. I think that's so powerful. And
so powerful, Jo. When you are able to bring people along for a journey, it doesn't even have to be long. It's a couple of minutes, you know, but your stories are very engaging, and people can imagine themselves, you know, like they can imagine themselves in Johnny's transformation, or they can imagine their own kids in Johnny's transformation. So that's what you want to share, the transformation journey.
Yes. Okay. All right, before we wrap today, because this is a pop-up series, we're here short and fast here on Show Mode, our exclusive little pop-up podcast in Studio Biz and all that jazz. Okay, let's get these key points. So we know that if you have an opportunity to stand in front of a warm audience, remember, this is the highlight of the year. They're loving you right now. This is it. This is your moment, not only to share what's coming, and it's not just a call to action, to show your authority as the leader of this business, to show that you care, to show that you're present. Yeah. Like show up, be on stage, right? Show courage and show up for your audience.
Show courage, be authentic, inject a little bit of personality, understand your audience. And in this case, the audience is warm. Like if you're presenting, you already know what this audience wants and needs. So that is a superpower that you can leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well,
it's an opportunity to build your own personal brand within the business and that authority. Do you have any quick takeaways on personal branding and the power of that within your business? Because sometimes people really lean on the name and the logo and forget themselves within it.
I think with personal branding, it really is about authenticity. I think if you're for just really showing who you are, because that naturally attracts the tribe that you want to be in your inner circle. So with personal branding, be as authentic as you possibly can, and it'll attract the people who are meant to be in your world.
Yeah. And don't forget, everyone, the power of storytelling in your presentation will make it memorable. People will not remember the details of, if you say, I have been the studio owner of 20 years, that's not what they're going to remember. That's great, but they're not going to remember that. They're going to remember that story about little Johnny, who was so shy when he first started, and now he's like in Cirque du Soleil. You know what I mean? Right? And he doesn't have to be there. He could have just been the captain of his school, he's gone from not wanting to show up to now being so confident and being the captain of his school because of the results through and that transformation through his programming, through what you guys do, right? So share the stories. And I always use Johnny as an example, and I don't know why. Maybe I almost called my son Johnny. And also I think I'm traumatized from when my kids were young. They used to sing that nursery rhyme, that YouTube thing. Johnny, Johnny, yes, Papa, eating something, no, Papa, telling lies, no, Papa. Oh my God, Johnny, shut up, Johnny.
So I think another little takeaway too is that whole thing about confidence versus courage, to continue to teach that on to the kids and your students. It's like, you don't need to be confident. Let's just, have you got 5 minutes of courage in you right now? Let's try this, and just kind of teach that forward.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest takeaway of today. I love that so much. I'm actually going to change the language I use in my agency, because I say that to parents like, oh, do they need experience to be in my talent? I'm like, they just need a little bit of confidence in it. But no, they just need courage, right? That's what they need. All right. Thank you so much. If anyone wants to find you, where can they find you online and come along for your journey?
For sure. Instagram and TikTok, Jennifer Natali, Fierce Women Connect, and my website, jennifernatali.com.au.
I hope you got lots of insight from Jennifer in relation to the power of that director's speech at your concert. Now, if for any reason you feel you just can't swing it and stand on stage and present, then perhaps you can record an audio to be played or have a visual video. So that's something to think about, with you delivering a pre-recorded message on stage, on screen, to your audience. But if you can stand on stage and really feed off that audience, and you have the ability to do that, and the capacity on show day, then I say go for it. But I hope you got lots from that session. Okay, next we've got something very important. Master your concert communication. Enjoy. So we are talking communication. We're talking about effective showtime communication. And we're talking about how we can relate that back to not only your customers, but to your team. Let's start with team. Communication is paramount when it comes to the expectations leading up to show, but also during show. Now, here's an example where there was a little bit of a mishap in one of my productions several years ago now. Has not happened since, but several years ago, I communicated very firmly with my teachers that they needed to submit their music. Now, they need to submit their music via a particular way prior to the performance. Now, I had one teacher who was so lax and they just would not do it. You know, those teachers that it doesn't matter if you do it, if what you say, you could say it upside down on your head. You could say it in their face. You could write an email, text it, scream it to them. It really doesn't matter what you do. They just are not on board. Needless to say, she didn't last very long with us, but she did not give me her music for concert. And it was frustrating as anything. It was so frustrating. Come show day, I still don't have her music. I go up to her at the beginning of the show and I say, honestly, where is the music? We are running our rehearsal on stage. Anyway, she still didn't have it. It was a nightmare. Something happened during the rehearsal and it didn't work out. She said she was quickly editing it. And then she flicked it to us before the show started. We had no time to check it. Guess what happens during the show? It's a blank file. My fault, because I just was overwhelmed with all the things. She didn't follow the process, and the one person that didn't follow the process didn't work, right? And this was a communication breakdown, truly, because I could have done it differently. I could have found out what the issue was, what the barrier was, why it wasn't happening to support it happening. And I feel that this was absolutely a communication breakdown between me and the teacher. So that could have absolutely been improved. Sometimes we can't assume that everyone is switched on. We need to hand feed people, ask more questions, and find out what the barriers are when they're not non-responsive. That's number one. So what I do have, I've created teacher handbooks for productions so that teachers know exactly what to expect. I also have meetings leading up to show, my expectations. I think it's also important to check in on those classes and download the music onto your own USB while you're there. Check in on classes and actually see what the quality looks like before it hits the show. But also really making sure that when it comes to showtime, that everybody understands their roles and obligations. So this is about having your backstage staffing schedule, your backstage staffing when it comes to obligation and roles backstage. Now, I actually think that a powerful way to do this is not wait to show day to do that briefing. I recommend getting your team together via Zoom just for like a 15-minute, 30-minute Zoom call prior to the event and actually getting them in a room. Pay them for the Zoom, guys. If you want people to show up, pay them. Okay. There's no, I can't make it because like I'm walking the dog. No, this is an obligation. You can even pop it in your contract, your employment contract, that they're required to have a pre-show staff meeting to clarify everyone's backstage roles and obligations and anything required in lead up to the show. So, that's really important. Now, I have had another incident where I had a young teacher who I had to fire on show day. This is a true story. Again, this happened several years ago. She was 18 and her job was on preschool supervision. She was an assistant teacher, 18 years old, and I popped her in the dressing room with the preschoolers on preschool supervision support. She comes out and she keeps watching the show from the front. And I say to her, please go back to the dressing room. You're supervising our little ones. That's your duty of care. That's what's happening. Anyway, she says that it's offensive that she has been put on supervision of little people. And I said, if she finds looking after our little ones offensive as a teacher, then she's not welcome to be a part of this process. And to be honest, her sitting out front directing students on stage is not what I require from her. And unfortunately, if that isn't in line with what she's willing to do backstage, then she's not necessary. Her job there is not necessary. So she walked out, which was fine. And as per our contract, I paid her out as per whatever our agreement was. That was fine, but I don't need that on show day. Now, again, this was before I had communication systems in place. Had I have had that meeting prior to the briefing on show. I always do a briefing before the show, no matter what, on site. So staff will come and bump in. We have a briefing as a team and everyone goes on and does their duty. But I do believe that there's value in the pre-show meetings and that communication piece, because had I have done that, she would have had that expectation in her mind prior, and probably the seed would have already been planted of what the expectation was, not just on show day, hey, you're in there, you're doing that. And then she's all frustrated and feels disgruntled by what her position is. Had we have had that meeting prior, first of all, the concerns would have been raised prior and there might have been a team swap. Or she would have, accepted what her roles and responsibilities were for the day. It would have sunk in a little bit more. And by show day, we've reduced her expectation of being the director of the show. And yeah, I mean, it's insane what we have to put up with as studio owners, don't you think? It's insane. But these are the realities. Now, I want to share with you some of these handbooks and things that I've used for these communication points, and I will do that for you in show mode, which again is that 3-day free coaching experience where you get one masterclass daily with me for an hour and then a live Q&A at the end of each hour masterclass session daily. So if you need that support, I do recommend registering. But yes, we are going to go through this more intricately, and I'm going to give you templates, resources, and tools. Again, this is totally free for you to keep and use so that you can be feeling super supported. Okay, so aside from that, again, those are my top recommendations when it comes to those communication systems. Having a teacher's handbook for show, making sure that they understand those key points. Having a meeting prior. So I always have a production meeting prior to show season. I actually do it a few months out from show with my expectations and the timeline of where I expect people to be and when during the lead up to show and their rehearsal schedule. And I don't want them not finishing their routines like 1 week before show. I want them well rehearsed and completed prior, a few weeks prior. You can actually set out that schedule for your team and give them those expectations. Like, for example, in week 17, I expect routine 1 completed. In week 21, I want this routine completed. And then you guys have and you can table it. I put it into a table. Everyone understands their requirements, the quality control requirements of what we're producing. And then we can do check-ins and we can make sure that teams are on path for success. And if they're not, we need to ask questions and support them. And then, after that, we set that team meeting. So that's our original production meeting, which is really about that rehearsal and development process. And then the follow-up meeting that I do, that production meeting, is just a few days or a week before the show where everyone gets their roles and responsibilities for backstage. Then on site, we have a briefing time set where everyone gets like a quick brief, could be walking around doing the OH&F stuff, theatre safety, rules and obligations, showing people where the backstage is, whatever. And then everyone goes off and does their tasks. Okay. Which you can actually have listed on a printed sheet or pinned up on the walls backstage so that everyone knows exactly who's doing what, or who to get support from on other areas. Okay. I'm also going to share with you in show mode some of those backstage obligations and what those roles can look like, everything from, your stage manager to your props master, etc., whatever. So we'll talk about that. Now, so that's kind of a little taster of what you can do when it comes to that teacher communication and staffing communication. When it comes to your customer communication, this is really critical. Okay, this is really critical. Again, I'm going to talk about what my show handbook looks like and the inclusions there so that you can support your students with a comprehensive handbook that they receive prior to show. But also, there's different communication points leading up to show. So everything from my triple threat communication process, which is, email, text, and your communication portals, whether that be, if you use a WhatsApp group or you use a Facebook group or you use a band app or whatever you're using. Okay. So those are my 3 main areas, and that is email, text, and customer portals. Now, I want to be clear that using one or the other doesn't work. You must use the whole triple threat communication system for this to work, for this to make sense. So I always shoot reminder texts prior to show. Hey, everyone, don't forget, arrive tomorrow at 3 p.m. sharp at the theatre. Here's the address. And I know that that's over the top, OTT, someone might say, but guess what? Your customers need a bit of that. They need a bit of that. In the age of flooded communication and 100 emails and bing, bing, bing on the WhatsApp, they need that from you. Okay, because people get frustrated. Like, didn't you read the newsletter? Nah, I didn't. Guess what? Because I'm busy and I got like 5 newsletters this week from all my different kids doing all the different things. And I get that as a mum and as an entrepreneurial mum who's running a business, managing kids, schedules, a household. It's not easy these days. We are in information overload. So be kind to your customers and give them the touch points that they need. Also, don't be disgruntled when they ask questions. It's good that they're asking questions. Like, just respond. Like, have good customer service. Love up your customers. Don't be like, "Gah, they didn't read the email." Yeah, okay, they didn't read the email, I get it. I super get it. So, aside from that initial student handbook for your show handbook for your students and parents and whatnot, I think it's really also important to set the standard of what you expect from parents and, audience members on the day. For example, if there's no backstage entry, having the appropriate signage ready to go so that, performers only allowed past this point. Like, think about these moments. Think about these moments. I would love that for you, because there's nothing worse than having a boundary broken and feeling super awkward and feeling overwhelmed on the day, and teachers being like, there's mums in the dressing room and we don't know what to do. Like, that should be clear communication on what the customer expectation is to your teachers and what to do in the event if people do not follow protocol. You have to have someone in charge, and it doesn't have to be you, because you are running the overall event. So whoever your stage manager is or stage manager assistant may be given authority to usher parents out of the dressing room, for example. Again, making sure that there's clear communications around those roles and obligations backstage. Okay. But with customers, we want to make sure that there's clear communication, constant reminders, same day text prompts for, arrival times. You want to make sure that you're supporting them with printed, materials like a show handbook, a digital material. You've got those costume sheets and what they need to wear for each routine, etc., or each number or piece. Like, really clear communication. We even include, as far as in our show handbooks, YouTube clips on how to do your hair. Hey, we ask you to do a nice bun with pins and etc. Hey, don't know how to do that? Click here to show you how to nail the perfect ballet bun. We go that far with it. All right. Also, we have what we call a what's on schedule, which is a simple 1-page PDF for the year. And that really helps people as well along. There's more to the communication piece, which I'm going to share with you inside of my free coaching week show mode. We're going to talk about even communicating those upsells and opportunities for re-enrollments and how to do that. We're going to talk about, those key critical moments, how to sell merchandise on the day through good communication. I've had people at my merch stand who have totally bombed out because they lacked the communication skills required to sell versus people that knew how to do it. So now we actually have systems in place of how we sell merch who's in charge, who makes the announcements, when those announcements are made, and how we can engage our customers to take action and buy. You know, people don't think about the overall communication aspect. People just think, here's the arrival times, here's the show time, here's how to pick up your kids at the end of the show. That's as far as people think about communication. They don't think about boundary setting with customers. They don't think about visuals versus digital versus printed versus, triple threat communication system, which we have in place. They don't think about the upsells or the sales communication opportunities through getting your team on board and engaging your customers to take action. These are the sorts of things we need to start thinking about, because it's not just about smooth operation, because I want that for you. I want you to have a smooth concert. Absolutely. But I also want you to have a profitable one. And believe it or not, communication is one of the key elements. Now, inside of my handbook, my show handbook, I cover everything from communication around the schedule, the venue, the costumes, the awards. There's so much more, right? Shoes, what to bring, everything, pickup times, photo and videography packages. Like, it's all in the handbook. It's all there. It's essentially our show Bible. Yeah. And it's also great because if your staff has a copy of that as well, they can support people when those questions are answered, or you can refer them to the handbook. Okay. Other great communication tools for clients is really tapping into that customer portal. So imagine you've got a Facebook group, for example. You can even create pop-up Facebook groups for shows. Still say you don't use it often, but you say, this is our show season pop-up Facebook group, only being used for this season's show. This is part of our communication piece to our customers. We say, we may not be available to answer your calls and emails during show week due to the resources being used in delivering the show. However, we want you to tap in to our private Facebook group community. I can't say Facebook today. Our private Facebook group community, because the question you have may be someone else's question as well. They may be thinking the same thing, and someone within the community may be able to answer. For example, what color jazz shoes do we wear for the junior jazz routine? And then if they post that in the Facebook group, they don't need to email you that. That's like another mum can answer that question. So that sort of stuff. Hey, what time do we have to arrive again? And another mum will always go, it's 7:00. Like, tell them to use the thing is what I'm saying. Tell them why you want them to use the thing, and that you may not be responsive immediately to emails or texts or calls during showtime. They need to know that. That's an important communication piece. Set the expectation. That will reduce complaints, concerns, and they'll start tapping into community and reducing your workload. All right. That's always been a godsend for us. That Facebook group has been the best thing since sliced bread during showtime, because we communicate how to use it to our customers.
Welcome to our final podcast episode from the Show Mode series, which is costumes, concert systems. Now, I want to mention that even if you've purchased costumes and you've done all your concert stuff already when it comes to costuming, still listen on, guys. Still get this valuable information and insight, because this can support you for the future as well. And maybe you've already done some of these things, or maybe you can enhance your current systems. So dive on in, and thank you so much for listening.
Costumes is a major part of what we do. It's so much. It's a really big part of the production process. And we tend to think of it in the sense of the ordering and the processing of, sourcing, fitting, purchasing, and then delivering our costumes out to our students. But really, there's a lot more to it. So obviously, there's that whole ordering and processing, purchasing system in place. And this is a decision you have to make as well, because some studios like to have their teachers have a say in the costuming.
I wasn't one of them, I have to admit. I preferred to really retain the creative control over our costume selections. And the reason for that was because I did a for hire scenario. So we would hire out our costumes. We didn't, and it was packaged into our monthly membership price. We didn't do, you had to buy a costume at this particular price and you get to keep it. That wasn't our model. But I've coached and worked with many studio owners that obviously do have that model. Now, when it came to that, the reason we had that creative control is because we were hiring, we liked to catalog them and keep file of when they were last used to make sure that we were rotating our costume stock. So, for example, if I had, I don't know, I'm making it up, the teal tutus for our preschoolers. We have teal tutus for our preschoolers, and they are catalogued and boxed in our storage. You know, we have them on our Trello board. So there's a picture taken. That picture is popped up on our Trello board with a description which says teal tutus times 20, sizes XYZ, for ages XYZ. And then we can mark on that Trello board note, used 2022 concert. Now you can also spreadsheet when these hired costumes are last used. And the point of that is really just for rotational purposes. So we would like to rotate our costumes we wouldn't want to use the same costume 2 years in a row if we could avoid it. We'd want to at least rotate every 3 to 4 years. But we'd like to rotate and use our costume stock, but we would also like to sometimes make new purchases. But I am one for using what you have. I don't like to waste and continuously buy. I think if you can use stock, use it. And especially in those first couple of years, if you do have a higher model, it's okay to reuse some stuff in that first and second year. Just reuse it, save your dollars. And the audience it's not a deal breaker. As long as there's different kids in the costume, it's fine. But as soon as you do have enough stock over time, you definitely want to start a more rotational method and keep track of that on a spreadsheet. Or in your Trello board, or both, which is what we did. So that's sort of that whole, stock holding scenario. Now, if you are a studio that essentially people have to purchase, then what you're essentially doing is you're researching costumes, you're looking online, you're ordering them in bulk. It's quite the process. Now, you can delegate this task. Now, if you like complete and utter control, then maybe you do the researching and etc. And then you can actually palm off the task to a staff member and go, okay, here are my selections, XYZ, screenshot, there you go, here are my selections. Here's the list of each class and their sizes, and I need you to order stock in all of these. If you don't trust that, which I know a lot of studio owners will go, oh, no way, then you're going to end up doing it yourself. But here's the thing. However you do it, it's really important to keep a record of your purchases. I think keeping a spreadsheet is a great idea. So the suppliers that you use, what costumes you purchased from the supplier, how many items, and the cost of goods, and also a column for shipping. So you really want to say, right, here are the items. So I would absolutely spreadsheet this, guys, so you don't lose track of what's been purchased, when it's arriving, etc. Keep a spreadsheet, yeah? The stockist, the date of purchase, the type of item that you've purchased, you can, as another column, you can even have a column called link to items. So you can just put a hyperlink to where they are located on your website in a column. Then you can put the contact details of the stockist, the cost of goods, the shipping costs, and then expected date of arrival. Keep that in a spreadsheet. And I'll tell you why, because if you end up, overloaded with all of these costume orders and you're trying to remember, when was that? And you're sifting through emails from 3 months ago going, when were they due again? Let me find that email. Nonsense. Go and put that all in a spreadsheet as you do it. That is your your system when it comes to ordering. So costume ordering reference system is as simple as a spreadsheet log. That's all you have to do. And then once it's arrived, you can even add a column at the end, date arrived, and that's it. Tick it off. Done. Great. What else are we waiting on? Oh, we can see that's 3 days overdue. Contact the company. You've got the phone number, the website, and the email address on the spreadsheet. You're not sifting through emails going, oh, what was the name of that supplier and what was their number again and what date did they promise? And no, none of that. So have your costume ordering system spreadsheet. That's the first step. And that's for people who purchase costumes. For people that hire, like I said, I recommend keeping stock of when you last used it on stage for which group. So keep this in a spreadsheet. Which group did you use it for? What year? What number? What was the routine? Just so that you're getting a nice flow of usage of your costumes. Even if you do reuse a couple of them year on year, you can kind of go, oh, let's purchase a new block there. Let's reuse these ones. Like you can get a bit creative and move things around and maximize your assets. Okay. Because when you have a hire model, you want to maximize those assets. You know, I've got studio owners that have hire models, but then they don't reuse costumes for 5 years. And honestly, it's unnecessary, guys. Like use your stock. So, you know, this is about profitability as well, everyone. Okay, so we've talked about spreadsheeting that process. So this is that prior process. Now, I would even recommend if you're charging, so if it's not packaged in or bundled into your pricing, I would then recommend even having a system of follow-up when it comes to those invoices for costumes. So this is where, well, first of all, just so you know, we have a size chart. So we have a size chart that we collect all of our students' measurements. Now, this is a Google Doc form that we send out to all the parents. And we say, and it literally has in the costume spreadsheet. I'll actually just get it up for you live now and tell you what's in there. Okay, so I've just got the form up for you. And guys, what I might do is at Show Mode, my free coaching experience, I will give you these templates. So make sure that you register if you want to get these templates as well. Okay, so in the Google Doc spreadsheet, and you can do this, like you can have a Google form, a Jot form, however you grab your forms, you can do the form however you want. My point being is when I create the form, these are the categories in which they have to answer. So their email address, the mobile number, the student's full name. We also had the program, so what classes they do, and this can be a multiple choice or multiple answers, you know, jazz, 4 to 6 years, and you can have a drop down list and people just tick or whatever. We get their, well, because we had multiple locations, we also got their location site. Their gender, so whether that be male, female, non-binary, or prefer not to mention, that's kind of the categories we had. The student's age today. The age really helps with ordering. So getting their, not a date of birth, don't give a shit about their date of birth. I just want their age today, because then I can look at it and go, okay, they're 4 years old and they said they're a size 10, but I know what they mean because they're a small 10, not an adult 10, yeah? So for us, because mostly we were musical theatre, we would put the character that they play, but you don't need to do that if they're ticking boxes of what like classes they're in, depending, of course, what you do. And then we had general dress size and or top size. If in between the sizes listed below, please select the size up. That's what we would say in brackets next to that option. If in between the sizes listed below, please select the size up. Better be a little loose than tight. And so we would have a drop box. And it would say as well, guys, they would have selections that they could make, multiple choice. And it would be, kids size 12, kids 14, men's medium, whatever. So we would always say kids, adults, ladies, men's, whatever, just so people were ticking the correct size. Then after general dress and top size, we would say pant size, shoe size, Now, we would get shoe size, even though they provided their own shoes. Sometimes we might have to organize something, but you may skip that. Height really helps, particularly with some ordering. And then comments or requests. Okay, that's it. So just to recap that, email address, mobile number, student's full name, the classes they attend, which location they attend, their gender, their age today, characters if relevant, their dress or top size, their pant size, their shoe size, their height, and any comments or questions. The reason we have comments or questions on the form is because sometimes you might have someone who has a sensitivity to a particular fabric. They might have an allergy to a particular fabric. It's good to just let the parent write or the student write if there's something wrong, or something that they want to flag. So we want to make sure that they're nice and comfortable. Okay, so that's sort of how we do it. Now, if you're getting your parents, and then obviously that would collate into a list. I'd get one of my admin team or staff to cross-check their roll call, all the roll calls, and make sure all the students are in there. Anyone missing by the deadline would be contacted. We've noticed you haven't completed the costume form. Please complete today. We'd keep a list of everyone that hadn't completed it. Once they'd done it, we'd mark them off. They were done, mark them off. And then, of course, at the end, if there was still someone, and there's always someone that just doesn't come to the party when it comes to doing this stuff, then we would just have to call them and go, right, okay, can you tell me over the phone, please? How tall is your child? I think they're this, or you can even do it in studio. We've done that before. We've ripped out the laptop and we've gone, right, you 3 kids haven't done your form. Come over here, check what type size you are. Great. What size shoes do you wear? Awesome. Measuring tape. How tall are you? Awesome. Great. And then it's done. And that helps us order. Now, some of you might get your parents to order online themselves. Oh, look, I'm not sure about that one. I'll tell you why. Because you want to make a markup on your costumes. You want to profit from costumes. So if they go onto the site and purchase themselves, yes, it's less admin for you, but it also means there's no markup for you. It means that you can't profit. So, yeah, not sure about that. I think that we should be profiting off everything that we do within the studio, but then it has to be a service, right? Now, here's the thing. You might say, but ordering those costumes, that might be 10 hours of work. Okay, cool. Let's think about that. Maybe it's even 20 hours of work. Let's imagine it's 20 hours of work, right? Okay, so 20 hours of work. Let's say you pay someone at $30 an hour, 20 hours of work to do the costume ordering. That's $600, right? And you're going to go, wow, that's going to cost me $600. Okay, let's say you have 100 students and you do let's say a $30 markup, right? Which you can for administration, purchasing, ordering, sorting, etc. That's $3,000. So yes, it'll cost you $600 in wages, or you could make $3,000. I want you to ponder on that thought. Okay, I want you to really think about it. Do the math. Do what makes sense. Even if it's $20 markup, that's $2,000 versus $600. Like, I want you to do the math. I really do, because there's an opportunity that you might be missing out on. Okay, so it's important to really think about that. And when one person out of 500 says, oh, I saw that online for $40 and you've charged me $60, then you can say, yes, because this is a service that we provide. Okay, this is a service that we provide. We research, source, and, coordinate and deliver your costumes. And we need to be paid for that. That's it. We're a business, in case you haven't noticed. You could say that. In case you haven't noticed, Karen, we're a business. So our administration, our effort and expertise, including researching and sourcing your costume, is for a purchase price. Okay, totally reasonable and fair. You don't even have to justify that. All right, you can see I'm really passionate about this. All right, so we've gone to that point, right? So now you've got this costume form. Everyone's dropped in their sizes. You've got someone monitoring it. Anyone that's missed, you cross-match it to the roll call. You can And you can make sure, if you really want to, you can separate the forms by class or category so that they're not all dropping into the same form. It's up to you. I just drop them all into the same form, and then they just select which classes they do so I can see that, and do a sort button on the Excel sheet, nice and easy. Regardless, that's how you do it. And then you've got the sizes. You go to order. You keep track of your orders through a spreadsheet system, so making sure that that's all running smoothly on the back end and that you can keep track of what's happening, how much things cost. It's also great for future ordering as well, so you can see, hey, shipping cost last year was $900 and now it's $1,800. Wow, that's a double. That's double due to inflation. Should we be looking at increasing our charges? Yeah, these are the things you can use. This is data, you're data collecting, okay? So, spreadsheeting is a great way. And then, of course, if you do a hire system, making sure that you're keeping an inventory. We take photos, we pop that photo up into our Trello board with notes. We keep track of how many items we have, what sizes we have, who the supplier was as well is a really good point to keep track of when you have hire costumes, so that shivers, we're 3 short of that piece, and we got to go purchase more. I always say as well, with a hire model, purchase to the capacity of a class size. So even if there's only 10 in a class, but capacity is 20, purchase 20. And you're going to go, wow, that sounds like a lot. That's expensive. But it's a hire model, right? So the point is that those costumes become assets. And you can sell them as, troop costumes over time as well. And then you keep track of when you last used them, so that and you don't reuse them like next week. But it doesn't mean you can't. I'm not saying you can't. Look, honestly, profit first, please. Profit first. If you are absolutely tapped out financially, then obviously consider that. All right, so then what happens? We've got all the costumes, the stocks come in, we've kept track of it all, we know exactly what's happening. How do people know what they want to wear? Well, we create a costume cast sheet. So this is where we literally, and I can show you an example actually during show mode. If you register, guys, don't forget that link is in the show notes. I'm making a note now. I will give you just a sample. It's not a template per se, but I'll just literally show you an example of what our costume breakdown sheet looked like. And it actually lists the program name, and every single child is on the list. It tells them it has a category for hair, shoes, and additional requirements. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, so there's that. And then, so that's your costume breakdown sheet, which is a PDF attachment. We have that separate to our show handbook. So the show handbook is, essentially our show Bible that has everything that our customers need to know about show. It's got a contents page list at the front so people can navigate the booklet and know which page to go to for what. And then, it has a link to our costume breakdown sheet, which is a separate PDF document, which we also attach to the email, additional to the show handbook. Okay. And so this is a very simple breakdown sheet where everyone can literally look up their child's name and go, okay, great. My daughter is Grace XYZ. Perfect. She wears this. She needs to bring this. She needs to have her hair like that. She needs to bring this. Awesome. So, she needs to have black jazz shoes. She needs to have white bobby socks. She needs to bring neutral colored underwear. She needs to wear neutral colored underwear. She needs to have her hair in a French braid and, have fishnet neutral colored stockings. Yeah, great. That's on the list. So I know what to bring and then how to bring it. Okay, so how do they bring their stuff from home? Now you can either allocate things, whether they bring it or you bring it. So that's up to you. We can talk about that more during show mode. I'm also going to talk about then the backstage process of how we actually sort and keep our costumes backstage, how we ask our students to bring things in to the actual show. I'll cover that during show mode.
and how you can actually have it really super organized backstage, and how the communication piece, and we'll talk about that in our communication session, the communication piece around caring for their costumes, okay, and what that looks like. Because they can't have spaghetti bolognese while wearing their white satin costume backstage. We know that, but do they know that? That's part of having good communication. So we'll talk about that during show mode. Look, I am going to have to wrap up this session today. I hope that was somewhat helpful. There's so much more, and I want to get to that backstage piece in the free coaching. It's just that these are short and sharp, sort of, kind of pop-up series for this podcast. I wanted to just give you a little bit extra and, love you guys up, because I know concert prep time is such a full-on time. And, it's now, it's happening now. And I just want that to be super organized for you. So I hope that preparation tips that I've given you today leading into those costumes has been helpful. Once you get to the show mode coaching week, we'll take it backstage and we'll go that step further, but I can't possibly give that all to you here today. It's just too much information for what is meant to be a pop-up series. I've done 5 consecutive days of these episodes. I said they'd be like 15 minutes max, but none of them are. I can't stop talking. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to register and enjoy your concert preparation, friends. This is it. This is the pinnacle moment. This is the moment, your time to shine, where you get to showcase in front of your warmest audience of the year what you do and what you're all about and the achievements. Yeah. Making sure that you come fully present, not in a chaotic, stressful state, coming in organized, stress-free, and calm while bringing home a paycheck. Yeah. Would that be nice? That's what we're aiming for. See you at show mode this September, everyone. Have a beautiful day. This episode is brought to you by Studio Talent Collective, helping you go from studio owner to talent manager with confidence. Ready to start your own in-house talent agency? Connect with me at josephinelancuba.com or via the links in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, and review. Thanks for listening and keep shining.